The War of the Beard. Listen, my children, and heed my words well. 'Tis a sorrowful tale of how pride and greed of a nation led to war and the death of many innocents. During the reign of the illustrious Phoenix King Calidor II, peace reigned in the world, and the people of Ulthuan did welcome the friendship of the dwarves. Our ancestors were masters of the world and sought not to enslave, but instead to freely enlighten others to the fortuitous ways of our people. I remember well how the dwarves embraced our friendship. The forges of the stout mountain dwellers fought fine weapons for our armies, which our greatest mages would enchant into powerful artifacts. In return, we educated their folk, for they were simple, who still carved their words upon stone. We taught them of magic and of the art, of literature and poetry, and it was a welcome alliance to all. But the dwarves are a race quick to temper and slow to forget. They are impetuous, and it is their fiery side, their nature, that led to their folly. The Druki, our treacherous dark cousins, attacked and raided a dwarf caravan, as is their evil wont. They slew warrior and maiden alike and stole away the dwarf's weapons. The dwarf king Gortrex Starbreaker, whose ignorance was well known amongst even his own kind, could not tell the difference between our own kin and those of Nagaroth. Quick to fury, he sent an envoy to Ulthuan, who demanded recompense for an act that was not of our doing. I was amongst the many elves who welcomed him to our city, but his rude manners, unkempt appearance, and foul odour marred his role as envoy. Swearing by his beard that he would not leave until justice was served, he drew his axe in front of the king, demanding recompense. Since the sundering, none have ever dared draw a weapon in anger within the palace of the Phoenix King. Though it was our right to slay him where he stood, we were merciful, and condemning him by his own words, did shave him of his wiry beard and cast him out of Ulthuan. It cannot be said of the children of Anarion that we are rash to act, and our people have been likened to the bow and arrow. Like the bow, we are strong, we can bend to the will of others, living in harmony with those who fail to see wisdom, but like the arrow, if unleashed, we shall strike swiftly and surely and slay those who stand in our path. Thus, when dwarf armies marched upon us, their hearts burning with the wrongful desire to avenge their pride, Calidor himself took forth the host of Ulthuan in order to prevent war. I, amongst others, did heed his command, but no dwarf be slain lest he do harm to an elf. But the dwarves were blind to the peace we offered, and so blood did flow upon the fields. Aye, in rivers it did flow. Still we showed mercy, though the dwarves, I thought, betrayed their hatred in their eyes. True to Calidor's word, I did not kill any dwarf who did not seek my death. To prevent further bloodshed, Calidor called forth the dwarf prince Snorri Halfhand, and bade him that they should resolve the quarrel before more lives were ended unnecessarily. Alas, the uncouth and base dwarf prince was young and rash, and attacked Calidor. Blow upon blow did Calidor defend against the begging dwarf, begging the dwarf to see reason, but finally the dwarf prince left the king no choice but to slay him. That day my heart was truly heavy with grief, and unwilling to spill more blood, our army left the field, having proven our honour intact. Such was the arrogant pride of the dwarfs, that Morgrim, cousin of the fallen Halfhand, now sought to avenge their prince's death. And all reason and sanity had left their minds, and they marched forth, seeking war. For 2 days we retreated, preferring to bow down in face of aggression. But the dwarf anger would not cool. We grew tired of fleeing from a cause that was not ours to defend, and when we could flee no more, our armies, with heavy heart, prepared for war. The archers tried to warn off the dwarves for advance. I remember how the sky darkened as clouds of arrows fell in front of the dwarves' lines, but they would not be stopped. Ever the aggressor, the dwarf crossbows drew first blood. In return, we slew more of their kind, and for each dwarf that fell, a tear was shed. but still they came, and still we killed them. The wall of dwarf warriors collided with our glittering line, and yet Lord Imaladrek bade us not to cut down the foe, but to instead temper their attack. Too late did he realise that Morgan's force was thirsty for vengeance. So noble was his heart, Imaladrek dropped his sword, offering his own life if the dwarves would cease their fight. Morgan mercilessly slew the defenceless prince, and our warriors retreated, knowing that the dwarves had no honour, and all their chance for peace was lost. Not content with the harm that they had wrought on our kin, our thirst for blood raged in the dwarves' dark, greedy hearts. They crowned Morgan the murderer a hero, and having tasted the rewards of evil, he craved more. Relentlessly, he came upon our cities, slaying our civilians and razing our fields. The fair town of Athelmaria, a place of serene beauty, was destroyed, and its fine works and ancient art burnt. Next, they came upon Tor Alessi, but word of the dwarves' rampage had spread, and Calador himself had come to the defence of the town. For 100 days, the dwarf engines of war tried in vain to break the strong elven walls. When they knew this to be a futile task, they turned their attentions to finely constructed towers, wantonly destroying them, though they knew they held no strategic value. Finally, Calador granted the dwarves entrance to the town, if they would come in peace. Gortrek Starbreaker, the High King of Dwarves, agreed to this, and with a retinue of his blood-stained warriors, he entered our fair city. Through the day we trusted dwarfkind, for during the night they murdered the sentries and opened the gates. The dwarf throng burst into the city, killing our warriors as they slept. They broke into the royal palaces and had plans to murder the Phoenix King. But Calador had awoken, alerted to the danger. Such is Calador's patience and desire for peace that he would not fight Gortrek Starbreaker, for the dwarf kings were glad with dark fury. The Phoenix King knew that, in killing him, any chance of reconciliation would vanish. The High King attacked Calador, rage blinding him to reason. I stood a helpless onlooker, watching the fight from afar. Many times could Calador have dealt a fatal blow to the dwarf, but his anger was tempered with resolution to find peace. Alas, Gortrek was lost to all but vengeance, and his hammer wielded with hatred broke through the defence of Calador, killing the Phoenix King. As if his cruel act was not enough, he then stole the crown of the Phoenix King. Dwarf greed overcoming the thoughts of remorse for his deeds, fleeing back to the Ever Mountain, he cowered behind walls of his hold, coveting his stolen prize with grubby, bloodied hands. Incensed by the bitter stab at our open hearts, our warriors gathered to right with what had been broken. But alas, the traitorous witch-king Malekith, hideous ruler of the Dark Elves, had made a dark pact with the dwarves and invaded Ulthuan before we could recover what was lost. We are not a race to seek vengeance, for we know too well the cost of hatred, nor are we a people who seek recompense for what we know the folly of pride. All our people desire is to take back what is rightfully ours, and to hear the words of remorse from those who murdered our kinfolk. That time shall come, my children, and you shall not have to bear the burden that I do. I mean, honestly, the War of the Build is fantastic. That was from the Warhammer Armies book, because, there's a whole book series based on it. It's called The War of Vengeance. It's really fun and really good to read, and it's well worth getting. If you get it on ebook or eBay or whatever, it's actually really good. I was lucky, I found it in a charity shop, and it does go into a lot more, but that's a nice little simplification of what happened. There's a lot more into it. Like Malekith did a lot as well to get the dwarves rolled up. It was pretty much a dark elf plan in general, and it used the ignorance of the dwarves but they didn't know elf from elf, and that was it. And it was really interesting. We probably won't see this because this was before the time of the three emperors. But it is an interesting story, and one I do actually enjoy reading when I look through the old High Elf Army books, and one of my favourite ones. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope what do you think of the War of Beard? How do you think that will actually play out, to be honest with you? Because it has been a common rule for dwarves to hate elves. Not for elves to hate dwarves, but dwarves to hate elves. How do you think that's going to play out in the old world? Do you think there's going to be some nice fun battles in the narrative that we can see and play? I hope so. That would be really cool and fun to do. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day, I'll see you all soon, and I'll catch you in the next one. Link to Wayland Games down below, as always, if you want to save some money on your Warhammer. Free delivery after £20. There, of course, is the Forbidden Planet if you like comics. They do some Warhammer stuff. There's my comics, and of course my merchandise cups. You know what everyone else sells, right? But you know, I actually designed my own. And of course Patreon as well. Have a great day. You can catch me on Rumble. I'll drop that link in the next video. Thank you very much again for watching. I hope to see you all again soon. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you. Bye bye.